Well, good evening, Jules. We're slightly late. It means I've got to go to the pub late, but there we go. We won't. we won't go into that situation. But a warm welcome to Racing Back, everybody. We look forward. What a weekend we have got in front of us. Phillip Island. What 4 races to go in MotoGP. Final round of the World Supers at Jerez in Spain, and the final round of the British Superbike Championship at the magnificent long Brands Hatch circuit. So we're looking forward to all of them, and obviously we'll be talking about them. But the highlight of the show for me and Julian, without a doubt, is the doyen of the MotoGP press joins us. Just hearing his voice earlier just reminds me of sitting in a media centre somewhere in the world. A warm welcome to Dennis Noyes. Great to see you, Dennis. Borrego Springs, what is it? New Mexico. But
no, it's California. California.
Julian and I had a little discussion about this last week.
Well, it's a Republican part of California, so it's really more like New Mexico.
Oh, right. But God, it's not often things like that I get when not over, Julian, but I get something right. But there you go. Well, what we usually do, Dennis, we start with the socials because usually they're quite nice, and we like reading stuff out that's quite nice about us. So, right. Paceman Pills 1073. Lads, love your pod in Jerez. Waiting for the World Superbike to kick off on Friday. Should be good as there's 3 World Championships on the line. Keep up the great work. Toprak to win and Chloe Jones to win her first race. So there we go. Somebody actually already at in Jerez, right? G-Pod, I would love Julian's old mate on your wonderful show. Toby Moody, not heard or seen anything of him since he finished with Eurosport. Passionate commentator for bikes that didn't come from the bike world. Wild card appearance for Toby, as Valet used to call him. Barry Rose, this is interesting. Great blog, guys. You need to sell some merchandise. I'm feeling flat cap with logo. Where do I send my order? Funny you should say that, isn't it, Jules? Because we haven't been discussing it, but Rich, the man who has to be obeyed, has been discussing it. And there may be mugs, there may be caps, there may be lots of things.
You may be able to have the T-shirt for Christmas.
There you go. Yeah, we'll send you one, Dennis.
Thank you.
Right, PDC read 4 days ago, sprint race results determining subsequent race grid positions comes a double punishment if you suffer misfortune in the sprint race, particularly if it wasn't your fault. I don't like that. Well, that's fair enough, yeah. What else have we got? These MotoGP podcasts are just fabulous. Not that I'm a Brit, but always use Burt Lancaster characters for my epaulets, which
oh dear,
I'm not quite sure. Yeah, there you go. Right. Regarding MotoGP sprint and race grid positions, here's what we think. Fastest laps gates race grid position as now, but the average of 3 or 5 fastest laps despite sprint grid. This is likely to spice it up just a little. So there we go. Fantastic podcast as always, gents. Highlight of my week. Shows our age. Creepy Crawley 2151. 2 legends from my childhood. It's not the same without you both in the commentary box. Love the podcast. Thank you so much. Oh, that's nice. This is my sister again, I think. Real pleasure to hear you, Nick. Super nostalgia. Keep this going. So, one more. ENLSN77. The story at the end about Estoril and the Formula One gang really surprised me. I did not know all those names mentioned, apart from Damon, of course, were into bikes. Great show, great stories. My first time viewing. You have a new subscriber too. Well, there we go. That's fantastic. As I always say, you don't have the right complimentary things. You write anything you like, and if there's things you don't like that we're doing or anything else, please just let us know. Right, where the hell do we start? We got Dennis here, but I think we'll just say Phillip Island because all 3 of us love Phillip Island. Dennis, your favourite circuit or not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember the 89, what was it, 89 and 90, those 2.
Gardner and Doohan, yeah.
They just blew the roof off. That's what really inspired Manel Arroyo in Dorna Television. we we weren't even in it yet. But Manel saw that race and he said, I'm not paying any attention to anybody else's TV production. The way the Australian TV handled that first race, with all the overtakes and.
Yep.
And that track where you don't use the brakes very much, and it doesn't really matter what kind of bike you brought. If you're a good rider, you can run at the front.
Yeah. 35th Australian Grand Prix, the 29th at Phillip Island. They tried Eastern Creek, didn't they, in Sydney? They couldn't replicate Phillip Island because I think a farmer wouldn't sell a little bit of the land, the bit they wanted to add it. And it just never took off. It never took off. Anybody who was there at that first race that Wayne Gardner won. The whole of Australia stood still for a little. There were so many people on the island, I thought it was going to sink. It was amazing.
And I remember they had those statues of Wayne Gardner, those figures of him.
Yeah.
Almost all over. They were like cardboard Indians standing around.
And all the way back to Melbourne, there was banners hanging out, and it was fantastic.
There was a "Win It, Wayne" slogan that was on bumper stickers everywhere. You had people like the national rugby team guys saying it on TV, and I remember the TV commentary. This is what sport's all about.
Yeah. Barry Sheen, Alan Jones, and Darrell Eastlake. I won't tell you who did the 125 and 250cc races because I will blush.
And I saw Wayne this weekend at the Classic Bike Show.
Oh, did you?
Where he was guest of honor. Saw him very fleetingly because he was a busy man. But as usual, very perky, very combative, very full of himself, and very Wayne.
Yeah, very Australian and very Wayne.
Yep.
Yeah, but he started the avalanche, didn't he? And it was a truly staggering event. Front page news. It reminded me a little bit of being in Spain when Márquez has won world titles. This was just a win, but it was the first Australian one.
Yeah.
All the newspapers, front page headline. Fantastic. Jerez, World Superbikes. Is he going to do it? He's got enough points, hasn't he?
Toprak, yes. I mean, it'll take a blow up to let Boulaga in, won't it? And it's just unlikely to happen.
39 points, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Very interesting, Toprak coming over to Moto Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Some of the things he's been saying, for example, I saw that he said he was going to Moto Grand Prix in representation of World Superbike. To show people that World Superbike is not really a second-rank championship, that good riders can come out of there.
We've heard that before, haven't we, Dennis? And it hasn't worked out, has it?
No, but we've never had. Well, maybe if Johnny had come over, when he had the opportunity, maybe if some guys had gotten there earlier, because usually by the time a rider's established in Superbike, he's already beyond that point where he would come in as with enough years in front of him to fulfill himself in Moto Grand Prix.
How do you think you do? Sorry, Julian.
I said that situation's only exacerbated over the years as the entry point to Moto 3, Moto 2 has got younger and younger.
Yeah.
So people who had to work their way up the four-stroke or the plodding bike ranks are older and older by the time they get there. It's difficult. But, Dennis, people who judgment I trust, when I ask them about Toprak, I get any answer you want to pick off the spectrum, from he'll never score a point to he'll be world champion. People I would normally consider to be totally sane hold all these opinions. What about you?
It's interesting because Moto Grand Prix, real Moto Grand Prix fans, the ones who are really plugged into Moto Grand Prix in Spain, for example, tend to have a negative attitude toward World Superbike because it's like an intruder, It's like even Carmelo, for many years, before Carmelo Ezpeleta became in charge of World Superbike was the enemy.
Yes.
And I went away and I worked in World Superbike for 5 years. And it was like, until I came back and got back into Moto Grand Prix again, we weren't really that friendly talking to each other.
No. They were always telling us, the paddock's much more friendly in World Superbike. I always found, I could be wrong, and I don't mean this unkindly, they always felt they had a bit of a chip on their shoulder about MotoGP. Is that right?
when I was in Dorna, when I was working in Dorna, and the big showdown was coming between Edwards, and Troy. That final race, there were orders out that no hospitality would play the World Superbike race publicly. Really? And I watched the race in the IRTA truck with Mike Trimby, and we had a guard out front. If anyone from Dorna showed up, they tipped us off, and we immediately changed channels.
Yeah, and a final goodbye to Johnny Ray.
Yeah.
And we've done a bit with him, haven't we, about him, Julian? But what a World Superbike rider.
I had to remind myself that the two rides he had replacing
Casey Stoner.
Casey Stoner in
Aragon and Misano, I think it was. Yeah.
Of course, was before he'd ever been a Superbike world champion.
Yeah.
I remember talking to him there, and he said, for sure, what he's not going to do is crash.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what they wanted him to go out and crash if he needed to. They wanted to see him on the edge.
Yeah.
And his attitude was, I'm just in here using somebody else's equipment. I'm going to go fast, but I'm not going to throw it down the road.
That was in between testing for the 8-hour on Bridgestones and riding another tiring World Superbike. He told me after the event that whoever was one of the engineers, maybe his crew chief, said to him at one point in time, Johnny-san, we have some more fairings in the truck.
That's right.
But a great servant. And, of course, it's a shame. We've had this discussion on many occasions on this programme that the opportunities weren't there for him at the time to come to MotoGP. It would have been interesting, wouldn't it, on the edge with a proper contract, just how well he would have done. I think he'd have done pretty well.
Well, Ben Spies, until he was injured, showed that progression. He made it so quickly, over into, and he won a Grand Prix.
He certainly did, and the only injuries really dented his progress, and in the end forced his retirement. And of course, Yamaha chose him to join Valentino in the Works Yamaha team. So Spies was a good example.
And he would have run more races if he'd had a level playing field. I think there's no question. He wasn't a one-hit wonder. He was the real deal, as Fred Merkel used to say. But,
and final round of the British Superbikes. Do you follow it, Dennis, over there on the television?
Somewhat, but not as much as I should.
Yeah.
I'm aware of what's going on, but it's like with all the time lags and everything makes it very difficult to watch, and I can't see it live.
Yeah. But it does look like Ryder's a 30-point lead over Bradley Ray.
But I mean, I raced in England at Club Racer before because I couldn't get a license in Spain for quite a few years. So it's just lovely to see those tracks again,
Did you race on the long circuit at Brands Hatch?
Yeah, I raced the long circuit, short circuit, and, everything from Lyddon to Silverstone.
That's a contrast if you ever wanted one, isn't
that
it?
Is fantastic. Right. That is a contrast.
I remember trying to hold I was on a 250 Ducati out in the 250 race, and Pat Mounty was on the Yamaha.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to hold Mounty off around that, what's they call that long corner, that right-hander?
Oh, golly.
At Lyddon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the drift. Chisholm's Drift. Chisholm's Drift. I remember trying to hold. I moved over on him, and he came to speak to me afterward and said, "What are you doing out there on that four-stroke?" And I said, "I don't have a Yamaha."
The first TZ 700 I ever saw was under Pat Marney at Lyddon.
Oh my!
A rear sprocket of it the size of a dinner plate. It was. He won.
And there was a junkyard at the bottom of the hill when you came down Devil's Elbow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When you came down the hill, if you went straight, you went straight into the junkyard.
And is it true?
I chose my university at Canterbury, so I was close to two racetracks, Lyddon Hill and Brands Hatch. That couldn't possibly be true, of course.
But Julian, I'm going to blame Julian here. I was telling the story last week. You crashed somewhere, woke up, and didn't recognise your wife. Is that
true?
Cadwell.
Well, I was chasing Peter Davies. I was on a 900 Ducati, and Davies was on the Laverde. It was the Avon first round of the Avon series.
Yeah.
And I was chasing. He was getting away. I'll be honest. He was getting away. But I had Steve Wynn behind me on the bike that Hale would ride. Yeah. And I was holding off that Ducati. But the night before, I had discovered I didn't have good brake pads. So I took a tin can and I cut out little squares of tin can to put them behind the pads. And that wasn't a good idea. And so after about 3 laps, I was pumping all around the track, and I was pumping when I went over Devil's Elbow, and the bike went light in the front, so the brakes locked. So it was like an aircraft landing. Smoke came out, and I remember looking down on Steve Wynn's leathers and saying, "Oh, that's how you spell his name, with 2 N's." Or something, you know? and when I got up, I guess I was unconscious, and when I came up, these concussion stories are not really funny, but they were sort of. I woke up, and I didn't know anybody. I knew I was a motorcycle racer because I had leathers on, and a lot of it kind of made sense. But there was this cute chick there. She seemed to be paying attention to me, and I was flirting with her and stuff. And she suddenly realized, that's my wife, that I didn't know who she was, and she was mad at me because potentially I was being disloyal. Although with her.
Unfair, Dennis. I'd say you were validating your choice right there.
That's exactly right, yeah. And the way she got me to recover from my concussion was put me in the car and have me drive home. And as I began to remember which way to turn, I was asking, do I turn where? And finally, once I sort of remembered how to get back to, I don't remember where I was staying, some campground, then she figured I was okay.
Oh, where do we start with you, Dennis? Please, Julian.
I was going to say, let's get to a little bit of current affairs, since we've got Dennis, who managed to split his time between being very American and very Spanish. Yeah. I'm interested in the Spanish perspective on Márquez and his doings. How that man is now seen in Spain.
Well, he's seen as the guy who came back from something no one ever came back from, 5 years without winning the title. But right now, I think everyone felt after he won that championship that some kind of a change came over him. In his press conferences, particularly the ones he did in Spanish, he kept talking about now the important thing is to get out through the rest of the season without getting hurt, because we need to work on the 26, the bike for 26. And I spoke to someone who knows him very well, Emilio Pérez de Rozas, Spanish journalist. He said that apparently no, the operation was much more serious. He needed an operation because of fissures in the ligaments of that shoulder, and they expected it to heal on its own somewhat. Yeah. And after 6 days, there'd been no healing. They had to operate, a very complicated operation, but it all went very well. But the doctor himself says usually you need 5 months after something like this, which makes Emilio suspect that he will not ride again this season. And he said he talked to Marc, and he said, Marc, if you don't get back before the end of the season, and you can't test in Valencia, will that worry you about the bike? And he said, not at all. We already have the 26 figured out. What we're going to be doing in the post, it's because the engines are frozen. Yeah. So you can't change motors. He said, we've already figured out what we're going to do. So whether I'm in Valencia or not, the 26 is already on schedule. So
the current thinking is we know Marc's not here in Australia or Malaysia in the next 2 weeks. That's self-evident. But current
thinking by people who are close to him in Spain is that, hey, you remember when Angel Nieto won the World's Championships? He always pushed to try and get the championship won before, so that as soon as he could leave Anderstorp, he could go to Ibiza, to the beach. Marc would like to have just, after he won the championship, the pressure was off. Yeah. You could see it in his face. And it's strange that he was talking so much about injury, because it actually happened, He was saying he didn't want to be injured. Almost every race this season, at one time or another, he's talked about the 2 crashes he had early in the season in Texas and the crash that he had in Spain, and saying how I've got to make sure I don't crash, That's not the way Mark used to talk.
Not at all.
Now, he still rides pretty much the same way on the track, but I just, you look at one thing. We have not seen Mark breaking records this year. Most of the records that were set by Pecco last year still stand. He hasn't been pushed, and this could have a lot to do with the fact that Pecco's never been comfortable enough on the 25 to go the way he did on the 24.
Yeah.
Because if you compare the lap times, fastest laps and race times, Pecco is slower, except in Japan, every place this year than he was last year. Whereas Alex, making that move from the 23 to the 24, has been faster everywhere. Mark has been faster, but not by that much. The real jump, if you just look at motorcycles and just look at lap times, it looks like getting from a 23 to a 24 is a big step, and a 23 to a 25, not so much.
Yes.
Absolutely. Not something Gigi would like to hear.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And because of the restrictions and because of the formula changing in 2 years, there will not be much evolution for next season.
That's basically what Emilio was saying. That Mark saying, the bike is pretty much, we know all we need to know.
Yes, yeah. And Gigi said in an interview he gave in Indonesia that 24 to 25 crankcases haven't changed, engine mountings haven't changed. So there's no reason to believe they'll change this time round. Nothing significant. One thing we forgot to mention about Mark, he's joined the very select list of people who've been champions on 2 different makes of motorcycle. And that considerable achievement's hardly got a mention.
I think because of such a comeback, and that side of it, well, that's absolutely right. And I haven't got the list in front of me, but obviously there's Casey Stone. Here we go. We're going to start trying to work them all out. Eddie Lawson, Casey Stoner, Maverick Vinales.
No,
not champion.
Jeff Duke.
Champion. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Eddie Lawson, Honda and Yamaha. Jeff Duke, Gilera and Norton.
Yes.
Oh my God, I sound like Casey Stoner, Honda and Ducati.
Yep. Valentino.
Oh yeah, Yamaha and Honda. Yeah.
And Ago.
Marquez.
Ago.
Of course. Ago, of course. Yamaha and
MV.
MV. Well, there we go.
But there was an enormous gap, I think, between Ago and Eddie Lawson. There was
very much so. Yeah.
What everyone is talking about, or not everyone, but what a lot of the people are talking about among the journalists in Spain is Mark thinking, he says no, of going back to Honda after he completes this 26, because that would be the ultimate. When he won his race, he did stop off in front of the Honda guys were in the Parc Fermé.
They
afterward, and he was going. It was like he knew everybody there.
Yeah.
When Grassini, when he knows the Grassini team, he knows the Honda team. He won with both of them.
That was very.
That's what Eddie Lawson did, didn't he? That's exactly what Eddie Lawson did. He won it for Honda, and then went back to Yamaha. Didn't he? Only did 1 year, just to show everybody really what he could do. Dennis, you're in America. Liberty, obviously, now running the show. Are we going to see major changes?
Yes. I listened to an interview with Richard Coleman. Have you heard that interview?
Yes.
It's frightening. Frightening, shocking. When you're talking about the fact that he said, the rumors are 20 million. I think it was, from what I hear, it was more like 10 million to buy Hervé Poncheral's team. And he's talking about the value of teams in Formula One. He says that in 2016, you'll recall that Mercedes was worth 500 million. Yeah. Now the top teams over there are talking around 3 billion. And I don't remember who was doing the interview, but the guy in shorts who was slouching in the chair, he said, "Wait a minute, you guys bought this championship for 4.8 billion. Not you guys, but media.
Yeah.
'Cause we're talking about Coleman is with Steiner in in the Tech 3 team. He said Liberty Media bought this for 4.8 billion, and yet you're saying there's teams out there that are being sold for 10, 20 million. Something's wrong." And he replied, "Yeah, we believe that the teams are undervalued and that the value of the championship." So everybody over the team owners are all thinking this is like an ATM machine. Suddenly the value of these teams is going to skyrocket. In fact, there was a talking about the what's the agreement called in Formula One? They have the
the Concord?
The Concord Agreement.
Yeah,
apparently somebody was talking to Carmelo, I won't say who, and said, "We need something like a Concord Agreement." And Carmelo stood up and said, "We're not communists here." And the guy said, "No, but we are capitalists." I think the focus, I think from what I understand, they really believe, and few people have said it, it looks too much like a Southern European championship with 4 races in Spain, 2 in Italy, 1 in Portugal, but that's where you could fill the racetracks. And one of the things that I think Dorna has done in this last year before the new owners come in is they've done long-term contracts with some of the Spanish circuits just to make sure they're there. The one circuit I worry about is Aragon. That's my favorite racetrack because it's in the desert. I love that.
Oh, God, yeah. You think you're at home.
Desert dwellers love the place as well.
It's Carmelo's favorite racetrack, too. As a kid, he grew up in that area, and his job as a kid was to lay in the grass and listen for the water coming down for irrigation, because at a certain hour, when the guy up the next farm would open the dikes and let the water come down, he had to open his to let it go in to his grandfather's property, because if he didn't, his grandfather would go without water. And
there's a picture on the wall in Aragon in the media center of Carmelo racing a car on the road circuit there, Barry Sheen, I think, on the Suzuki, I may be wrong, and a certain Dennis Noyes in action, I think, on a Ducati.
With glasses. And, I didn't wear glasses after that, because after that crash in Cadwell Park, I couldn't see through my glasses. So I went to the doctor and he said, "You don't need glasses." I said, you've got, fighter plane vision right now. Well, I didn't have before. So Cadwell Park is also good for recovering eyesight.
American riders, Dennis, we've had Neil McKenzie on and a few others talking about the lack of British riders in MotoGP and in even Moto2. America, what has happened? It was like the Pilgrim Fathers reversed at one time, wasn't it? They were just coming over in droves and just taking over. There's nobody in sight at the moment, is there? No, there's no one in sight at the moment. And what happened was those, at that time, everybody rode 500s as if they were big 250s. Yeah. The Christian Sarron, Wayne Rainey used to say, I couldn't understand what Sarron was doing, He's just got the 2 wheels in line and he's waiting to get some grip and he's laying out there. Why doesn't he back it in and fire it out? And that was dirt track talk. And Roberts had such an impact on Spain, jumping ahead. You talk about going from the American riders to the Spanish riders. That racing school that he ran in Barcelona, that's where Crivier learned to ride. I mean, Crivier was a good 125 world champion, a good 250 rider, but Roberts turned him into a dirt tracker. I remember Mick Doohan saying once, "What's Crivier been up to?" He said, "He's lighting that rear tire up like a barbecue," And Marquez himself, Marquez's dad, Julia, paid a lot of attention to all that talk about dirt track, and that's why they built that. They had their practice track where he raced, and why is he fast in left-handers? That's why he's fast in left-handers. He's a dirt tracker. Wayne Rainey said of Marquez, he's not a Spaniard, he's an American. He just doesn't know it. Dennis, we are running out of time, sadly, but all those riders, all the names you mentioned, all the Americans that have come over, who was your absolute favourite?
Oh my goodness, I could. Kenny Roberts.
Yeah.
When Kenny came over, it just changed the game. I remember real quick telling Antonio Cobas, because he was building the 250s. He revolutionized the way 250s are built. But with Roberts, I was saying. He said, "What's all this talk about Roberts and his style?" We hadn't seen him yet. It was because before the first Grand Prix in Jarama, and I drew on a piece of paper what I thought Roberts's line through the Bugatti corner would be. And he said, "You're exaggerating." And he came back after practice and said, "You didn't exaggerate enough."
Yeah, he turned the sport on his head in Europe, didn't he?
In a lot of ways.
On and off the track, Yeah,
Antonio Cobas's the achievement is the Delta Box chassis that Yamaha built was basically a copy of Antonio Cobas's original design. He was one of the great innovative engineers.
Genius, absolute genius.
Yeah, and he even built he didn't do much with four-strokes. In fact, the BMW that he did wasn't a very good four-stroke. But the Tekfar that he built with the Ducati 860, or rather 950 engine, it was 1.550 meters long. It was a 61-inch wheelbase.
Oh.
Nobody's ever had anything like that. And the bike was designed not for all tracks, not for road. It was designed just for Montjuic. A motorcycle built for one track and one corner, which was the San Jordi climb. That's the way Cobas would attack things.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Nick, your 2-minute warning.
Oh my golly!
This is our speedway moment, Dennis.
Yeah, we have a 2-minute warning.
Hit the klaxon. It's the 2-minute warning.
Yeah. Oh, Dennis, really, Dennis, I'm going to ask you now. You will come back sometime, won't you? Because we've only scraped the surface, haven't we? We haven't got on.
Oh, it'd be great. Listen, I worked with you guys for so long, so many times.
Just hearing your voice makes me think of places throughout the world, to be honest with you. Yeah,
we need to get Toby on too.
Yeah.
Yes, because you worked with him. Of course
you did.
Until I got assigned to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Donnie told me you're doing live Spanish. I'd never done live Spanish in my life. Scared me to death. Manila Arroyo, a minute before the race is supposed to start, goes to the bathroom, leaves me sitting there with Madrid saying 10, 9, 8, 7, counting down. If he hadn't come back when he did, I think I would have said, "Hello, I'm Dennis. Manel's in the toilet." And he came back and sat down, and he did it on purpose. He said, "You were too scared. I just wanted to put you in that position."
Many, many, many thanks, Dennis. Great to speak to you. We'll do it again. Right, we'll be talking about, obviously, Phillip Island, Jerez, and Brands Hatch next week. What a super edition of Racing Back with Speed. And Dennis will be back. If you have any questions for Dennis, let us know. Any questions for us? Jules, I'm off to the pub.